of course, about that time, we had backed into the civil rights movement, and we were working with a number of different people and groups trying to see what we could do about civil rights and raise funds for the freedom riders and one thing and another. And we're getting into a lot of trouble as well as to a lot of interesting things.
Like what kind of trouble?
Well, we were sent to a parish in Bethel in Pride, which, to say the least, was a very conservative congregation. And of course, in those days, everything was very separate, white and black. And it had become known to the KKK that we were doing things with civil rights groups. Sometimes when they would come through, we were considered a safe house, so they could stay with us. And for black people to stay in white people's homes was noticeable, and created a, you might say, interest. And I was stupid enough or whatever to try to convince some KKK people that black people were human beings, which probably wasn't the smartest thing in the world to do in those days.
George and Wanda had lived their lives in a long and turbulent moment in our evolution as a species on this planet. Called many names, post-civilization, a mutation in humanness, a world come of age, the shift to an ecozoic era, the shape and outcome of this era is still very much in play. Hillary Clinton, in a clip from The Makers, a 3-hour PBS documentary on the last 50 years of the women's movement, described it like this. In the 19th century, we abolished slavery. In the 20th, we got rid of totalitarianism. The 21st century is about guaranteeing full human rights to every woman on the planet. However you describe this shift we're in, Kenneth Boulding, writing at about the same time that George left Louisiana for Chicago, hit the nail on the head. In the last chapter of his book, The Meaning of the 20th Century, Kenneth Boulding began this way. The fact of the Great Transition is not in dispute. Almost anyone in middle life today has simply to look back to his own childhood, or still more to the days of his grandparents, to realize that we are living in a world in which there is an enormous rate of change. If anyone in advanced society today were to suddenly thrust back into the world of only 100 years ago, he would feel utterly alien and strange. A considerable part of his vocabulary would be meaningless to the people around him. He would find it hard to adapt to the inconveniences and to the restricted life which he would leave. He would feel indeed in an alien society. Accurate when written half a century ago, even more accurate today. George and Wanda, like millions of us, lived their lives in service to this great transition. I asked him in 2007 what he's doing now.
I'm trying to be a covert revolutionary. I work with a bunch of guys from the order on trying to do something about the archives for JWM and our resurgent publishing house, and many things develop around that. I run some websites. One of them for a mission in Cameroon. I do the pastoring of a little church near the University of Texas. Try to be a grandfather and continue to try to be a member of the order. And
So you're right back to a cadre, are you?
just have a lot of fun. Well, we have two cadres, really. We have the congregational cadre and we have the community cadre, and we're trying to get them together to where they can begin to function.
They both come out of the same plant?
No, well, in a way, the community cadre, they were around, but they were not really self-consciously around. And now they're becoming a little bit more self-conscious of being around. And of course, they have difficulty. They're very frightened of religion. Most of the people in the neighborhood you would consider to be the secular religious. They're profoundly religious. But the language really offends them. They wish deeply that their children would have a profound experience of life. And the only way they know to talk about that is through the religious categories. But at the same time, they reject them. Because, as they say, we were forced to go to Sunday school, and we were forced to do this and that and the other thing, and we don't like it, and we don't want that to happen to other people. And then when you get them talking about, well, what do you want? You know, well, they want a profound experience of what it means to be a human being, and they want their children to share in that.
And the congregational cadre?
Well, they have a similar thing. Is that they use different words. They want a profound life, and many of them sense that they've had a profound life. And I think now more and more they see that they can be the bearers who hand on the baton, rather than just sleeping in the bed.
Which means?
When I first got to this congregation, their story to me repeatedly was, we want somebody to come and be our pastor and bury us all. And as long as we're alive, we want to keep this church open. The story's changed for the most part now to, we've created something here that's really a marvel. And we have a tremendous history of contribution, which they have. And we would like to see this go forward in a new way, and to be a witness to what human beings can do and be, and to be a light for that community, to create community.
What do you see as the legacy of this order?
Well, it doesn't have a legacy. It only has a future. And the methods are here now, and they will go on into the future. And other people are picking them up and using them. They show up in all kinds of crazy places. You know, I remember when I came back and was getting acquainted with the church again, and I would be sitting in some bishop's office, and the bishop would learn about that I'd been with the Ecumenical Institute, and they would pause and say, you know, I took a PLC back in such and such and such time, and if it hadn't been for that, I'd have left the church. You know? And then you bump into somebody in business who had been struggling to create a company or to stay with a company, and they'll tell you almost the same story. Went to this strange course, you know, and these people got up and they laid out all these triangles and stuff, and here, let me show you. And they pull them out of their desk and say, that's what I've been trying to be up to, you know. Do you know where those people are now? Mm-hmm. You know, or they couldn't even remember it was lens, you know, or whatnot, but when you described it. And they'd say, oh yeah. So, you know, once you start something and you put it into being, as we've been told over and over again, you don't have control over it. It goes out.